Alright, I'm going to take a break and tell a little story. When I was in high school, I had the same homeroom with the same girl from middle school. And then her cousin came down, and then her cousin was in the homeroom with us. But I was tight with her because it's funny how these things end up, but it was because we had the same first letter in our last name. I mean, how simple is that? But she was MO and I was MU. So we were always like next together in homeroom. And I met her, I didn't have her in elementary because we hadn't moved to Safety Harbor yet. The first, anyways, that's besides the point. So, I was close to her. We weren't like all around best friends, but we were tight. We understood each other. We both came from the north, and we were both kind of like, I don't know, not so much into the makeup, you know what I mean? Not like lesbians, but just like, I don't know, not your typical girl. She had brothers, so she was like, you know. Anyways, where was I going with this story? Okay, so we had grown up together, kind of, and we had gone on to the same high school. And when we got to high school, the homeroom, was it homeroom or was it just random classes? I don't know if they were putting us, alphabetizing us or what, but then it wasn't just, I just remember MOR. It was him and his sister. He had a younger sister. She was a beaut. That girl was nasty. Not like dirty nasty, but just like fierce. Anyways, so she had the older brother, so I don't know how it all happened, but we all started hanging out like senior year, and it was me. I was the only like white girl. And then it was my friend Michelle. She was Italian. Her mother was like Spanish, and her dad was like white. But she looked Italian. She didn't look Hispanic, and her brothers didn't look Hispanic, but her mother was Spanish. So, where was I going with this? Anyway, so when I was in my senior year, and then when we went over, I'm trying to think. I think it was just senior year. Yeah. We were all a tight group. It was me, Michelle, Elvira's older brother Jose, and then they brought in their cousin. He had come from I don't know, some country. He had come in, like, I can't remember his name. And then Michelle had cousins that had come, so it was her cousin Brian, and then his younger sister Dawn. And we were like a group. We would go to Jenny Springs, which is this really cool, it's like a park, but you can like spend the night there. You can like camp out. It's like a minimal fee. And and then they had like this clear water you could swim in, and it was nice. I mean, I was never into camping, but I mean, I didn't like it, but I liked spending time with them away from their parents and away from everything. So it wasn't that I liked camping, I just wanted to hang out with them. And where was I going with this? What was my point? I don't know, this medication, things just fly out of my head. What was the point of my story, man? It was something about Michelle. Oh, so one day I went over to her house, because I would go visit her from time to time. At the time I had a car, and I would wear like, my weight was under control, and it was before like all the bad weird stuff happened in my life. So I would go visit her. She had her wisdom teeth out one day, and I wanted to bring her like stuff, and then for her birthday I remember I hooked it up. I don't know what it was, I just felt very compassionate towards her, and I didn't even know her that well, but I just felt like close to her, like in a way that I didn't feel like with anyone else. It wasn't like I said, it wasn't a lesbian thing. It was just like I like understood kind of like a little bit. You know what I mean? So one day I went over her house, and we were like we had just turned 18. So the thing to do was to go down to Ybor. Well, her mom was hardcore Christian, and she didn't want her going down there. And we were like talking, and I guess her mom had overheard, I guess I said something that she didn't like or whatever, and she basically like, that was it. Like, her mom was really like ferocious. And then after that, we couldn't really be friends anymore, which is sad because I would have liked staying friends with her, but I could see why it had to end, because it's really weird to say this now, but I wanted to transfer and finish and get a 4-year degree. I didn't want to stop with the 2-year, 60 credits or whatever. I didn't want to do that. But nobody like would go with me, or I don't know. I was going in the summer to try to get out of there. Like I hated it. I hated it. It just felt like you graduated high school for this. Like, I hated it, and I wanted to get out. That was my thing. I wanted to get out of there. So I would go both summers, and I just focused. At that time, I didn't have to work, and I just tried really hard so I could transfer over. I had no interest in getting an AA. I thought that would be like so stupid and a waste. And plus, I remember for an AA at the time, I mean, it wouldn't bother me now because I take medication, but at the time, they had like a speech requirement, a public speaking requirement, and a PE requirement, and I did not want to, I wasn't comfortable with that when I was like 19. And I remember I said, if you took anatomy and physiology for like 2 years or whatever, 1 and 2, you didn't have to take it, so I loved that class. But anyways, my point is, oh yeah, so it kind of broke. I mean, I guess it was supposed to happen because, I mean, I don't know. I guess it was supposed to happen because I look back, I think about that a lot, and I think like, I feel for the most part, we worked well together as a team. We got along. We didn't really fight. I mean, we had some troubles. There were times when I was like, why am I surrounding myself with these people? But I don't know, it got to the point where it just felt like, I don't know what it was. But I didn't know that like, I mean, I still consider them like friends, but I didn't know that like, just because I transferred to college, it was gonna like abrupt everything. And I didn't realize at the time, but I really felt like that's what I needed to do, and that's what I did. But looking back on it now, I mean, I'm glad I got to experience it and everything, but I don't know. I just wonder, like, why did I have to go? Like, why couldn't everybody go with me? Like, it wasn't a good feeling. Like, I remember oh my God, the first day, I had a single room, which was wonderful. I had to share a bathroom, which was awful. But there was a sink in my room. So it made it a lot easier. You could just get up and go in the morning. But I remember the first day I went down to get something to eat, and all the football players lived there. And they were all eating, and I was like, I can't eat in front of them. And I took a baked potato and I brought it up to my room and I ate it and cried. Like, I was just like, this sucks. Like, I came from a beautiful brand new condo, kitchen, decor, and just, it was a new neighborhood, so it was quiet. Everyone there owned the property, so there wasn't any problems. So, I mean, I'm glad I went, because if I didn't go, I would have always been wondering, and I'm glad I had a child, because that's another thing I always would have wondered about. But now looking back on it, if there's one thing, I mean, it was so hard on my own. I mean, I wasn't really on my own, but now that I was at the retreat and I saw how things are now, you have to have a group of, I mean, I don't know about the rest of the world, but at the retreat, if you don't have 3 or 4 friends that you can live with, you're in a jam. And I didn't know this. But I guess it was everything was supposed to happen the way it was, because I really did I pursued the classes that I really was interested in. I didn't do it to please anybody. And I did really try to do the best I could. It just got to the point, I remember I couldn't be there anymore. I wanted to be at home, and it's hard. No one realizes how hard it is when you have to leave all on your own. I really wasn't on my own, but I felt like I was on my own. I remember I was on the 13th floor, and I don't even think the building exists no, the building itself doesn't even exist anymore, but I was on the 13th floor, and they had this air duct, and the cold air was I couldn't even breathe. So I remember I covered the air duct with a piece of cardboard paper and taped it over there. And then I would open the window and I would leave the window open, because it was so, I mean, you just could not breathe. But yeah, I would open the window and I would listen to the traffic, because it was off of Fletcher. And I would listen to the traffic, and that would calm me down, because I would just that would calm me down. And then I remember I used to watch the Food Network, because I was trying to control my weight. So I'd go down to the cafeteria and I'd fill this, it was this silver bottle that it used to have lemonade in it. The campus is different now. On the bottom, before the bookstore, there used to be a convenience store in there, and now it's different. But I would get one of those bottles every 2 or 3 weeks, and I would fill up with grape juice, and I would sip the grape juice all night, and I would stare at the Food Network all night. But I was really bad. I never studied. I could never I don't know if I had an undiagnosed learning disability, but I could never focus. I could never get it done. So I would go to class, take notes, and then I would try to memorize the vocabulary terms and just work the index, because reading the chapters, the only book I could read the chapters for was IO Psych. That was the only book. The rest of them, it was just, I just couldn't do it. In some classes I didn't like, because I didn't like the professor, and some classes I didn't like. I remember I took this women's studies course, because you have I think 4 classes that you can pick. You have to do a worldly class or whatever, and I went in women's studies. It was all these like fat man haters. I got out of there, and then I took international actors and issues, and I didn't like that. I didn't like the kids, and I got out of that. And then I liked it for a minute, and then I didn't. And I wanted to do dance, but I couldn't, like, I don't know how they do that. Like, I don't know how they do that. But I think that's a really cool thing, but that's what I wanted to do, but I don't know how they do that, like, I really don't. But what was my point? Oh, I mean, if I could go back knowing what I know now, I'm just thinking, like, what would I have changed? What could I have changed to make it? The only thing I could think of, and I don't know if this is right or wrong or what, but now that I'm 44 and a half, if there's anything that I would do differently, I would have tried to hang on to Aaron and Michelle and maybe have them as like roommates. Or that's the only thing I could think of that maybe would have kept me away from Corey. Not to like disown my son's life, but I think if we had stayed together like as a triad, it would have been easier to keep me away from him. Like they would have known like what to do. That's the only thing I could think of, because I was really trying to figure out like where it all went wrong, and I think that that's maybe, but then again, you know, you end up doing what you want. It's hard. You know, you're old, and then you realize what you did wrong when you were younger, or what you could have done better. But I did the best that I could at the time. I mean, I really did the best I could. I mean, but that's the only thing I could think of. I think we would have liked helped each other, and I wouldn't be in this predicament, and I never would have been like abused or whatever, and I never would have had to go in and have a record and stuff, like, but I was determined. I didn't want to live that life anymore, and I just had grown impatient. Like, they smoked, and I think some of them drank, and I remember this one time, I don't even know if I should talk about this. I had to go over to JC to get like a transcript or to take a test or something. I can't remember. I cannot remember. And the school wasn't even open. It was like break. I think I was going to the library or something. This is like 97 or something. And Aaron came up to me out of the blue, and I literally hadn't seen the girl like all summer. And she just like came up to me, and she told me that she had met some guy, and she took a half a tab of ecstasy, or he gave her a half a tab of ecstasy or something like that. And I remember thinking, what is she doing? And then I realized that maybe I did do the right thing by, you know, not hanging out with them anymore. It was hard, but maybe it was the right thing, because I can't tolerate, I mean, if I take a Tylenol, it like, I nap for like 4 hours, so I can't handle that stuff. So I guess it was supposed to be the way it was, but it's upsetting because I'm so like in a situation now that I have to like tolerate verbal abuse from this Palestinian guy because he has a nice house, and I love that house. And I know this sounds psycho or whatever, but I really feel, and I mean, maybe this is just my disorder or whatever, but from the moment I stepped in that house, I was like, this is my house. I know this house. And like, he wouldn't agree with that, but it really did. He has these French doors, you know what I'm saying? in the bedroom. Like, you lay there and the French doors are right there. And the whole motif reminds me of my parents' house that they had at Weatherstone. He's got the brass fixtures, but he's a jerk. And his neighbors suck. Well, the one neighbor sucks. So when he's home, dealing with him and the Asian neighbors, it's too much. Like, I can deal with the Asian neighbors when he's not home, but when he's home, oh my God, it's just too much. So I love the house. I'd love to have the house. I know this is bad to say, but I'd love for him to pass away and leave me the house, and then my mom and sister could live in the master bedroom, and then my son could live in what is now the exercise room. It's like this huge bedroom, like in the front of the house. That would be his room. And then Mackenzie and I could be, I mean, she'll be in college, of course, but she'd have a room there across the hall from each other. And she could have the room in back of the bathroom. So that would be like her bathroom. And then I would just stay in that little room. That's what I would do, like, if I could do anything. But he's like in there, and it's all like, it's like sad and gross. He has all this stuff in the garage. It's all like rusty and dirt. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand. If you have a house and you're blessed to have a garage, you know what I mean? I just don't get it. I think it's because I don't know. I don't want to judge, but that's the way I would have it if I could have it anyway. I would have my mom and sister in that big master bedroom. That would be theirs. And then, like I said, and then we would definitely put the house on the market because there's shady vibes up in there, like bad. There's like this horse farm in the back, and this kid comes by and like kicks the horse. Like, I wouldn't want to stay there, but I'm saying maybe, you know, my side of the family, they could stay there like until it got sold, and then Mackenzie could have a room for when she comes home from college or whatever, because she's getting up to that age. But my mom said it would be too much for Ryan to be like in the same house with me. So what I would probably do is I'd probably give them the house. I mean, I know that sounds like a crackhead, but I'd probably give them the house because they had to raise Corey's child. And then I would live somewhere else because they deserve that. I mean, if that would be the least I could do. But the guy that's in there now he's horrible. He doesn't deserve to live in a house like that. Like, one time he had gone, and he was gone for like 3-4 hours. So I opened the blinds to get some sunlight in. And he came home and was so mad because I opened the blinds. I mean, he got really upset about it. And I understand, like, whatever, you know, but there's something up with him because I could tell how he reacted. Well, first of all, he's psychotic on the phone. He's verbally, like, I don't put it on speaker because I don't want anyone else to hear it. He's like a verbal terrorist, the way he says things. But I can tell by the way he reacted when law enforcement came in his home, and I could tell that he's a big pussycat. Because he starts this fast talking when he gets nervous. And it's not about the way he looks at all. It's just the way he is. He's a jerk.